Steve, you ready to do this?
Let's do this thing. Punch it, Chewie!
Welcome to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura. We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow all the way up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 5.
So a little explaining to do.
By the way, that's going to sound like crap, just so you know. I can put that in post.
All right, so my mom got me this little Chewbacca toy, this little fuzzy Chewbacca thing for Christmas because she thought it was cute. She's listening. She's like, "Sweetheart, for your little show that you and your friend do." I don't know why my mother always turns into like a Jewish mom whenever I do an impression of her. She's not, but anyway, so
not at all.
So my kids have been walking around the house with this thing for the past 3 days. So
nice.
Yeah.
So Steve, I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever, and I know that's actually not the case. We talk all the time,
right?
But for some reason, this week makes me feel like it's been a month. How are you? What is going on?
I'm great, fantastic. Christmas was amazing, probably one of the best I've ever had. And I think the reason we probably feel a little, time has separated us is because I think just Christmas in general is this void of like sleepless nights as a father, doing what fathers do during the Christmas season, and long days with family and friends, and dare I say, in-laws.
Definitely the in-laws part.
Yeah. But no, I'm doing really good. We had a fantastic Christmas. It was like I think there's a prime age, right, when kids are, probably between the ages of like 3 to 4, upwards of like 10, 11, which exactly where all my 4 kids are, and just magical, man. It was just awesome. They had a great time. They did a lot of making gifts for one another, and that's always a cool thing. We try to encourage them as best we can to kind of make some homemade stuff and get in the Christmas spirit. And one of the cool things my oldest son Carter made for my second youngest daughter, I guess, Alana, is this little like fairy door that I installed at the right in her room, like right along the baseboard, and she leaves a note by the door, and every morning there's a new note there, and there's a little fairy that brings it every night. So my son is getting into the Christmas spirit, we'll say. So
nice.
Yeah,
that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool gift that he thought of, and then now he's running with it. So yeah. So how are you doing?
I'm tired because I feel like all I've been doing is running for the past 4 or 5 days, a week. I'm not sure. My mother and her husband came into town, and my youngest sister flew into town. And so my house has been the Hotel Stapleton for the last week or so. It's been a revolving door of my sister staying with us, or my mother and her husband staying with us, and then back again. And tonight's actually, I think, the first night we don't have anyone here with us. So that's kind of nice. It's a little more quiet. The kids had a great Christmas. Although I must say that for a 2.5-year-old and a 4-year-old, I think they just get to a point where they're tired of Christmas. They just reach an overload.
Oh yeah.
We opened up gifts, and then we kind of like took a little break so Nana and Grandpa Roger could come over and see them open up more gifts. And then we had to take a break so we could get to our church service, which was a little earlier than usual and was only about 45 minutes to an hour. And then we came back home, and we still had more presents to open. And I asked the boys if they wanted to open it, and they were just like, no. All they wanted to do was eat candy from their stockings and play with toys, and they just didn't want to do anything. So we kind of held on to some presents till later in the evening when more family came over. and we did some kind of family gifts, and then they opened a few more, and we're in the mood. And technically, we still have like 2 more gifts under the tree that they haven't even opened. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
thinking we're gonna hold on to them till like birthdays or something.
Right. Yeah, it's one of the things we try to do is they come down and they get their stockings and there's gifts from Santa and whatnot. So we do that, and then we have breakfast, and then we open a few more gifts. Then maybe they go take showers or whatever, and then we had the church service like you did. And what was nice about it is that from beginning to end, we opened our last present at 10:30 at night. My wife opened the last gift from me, and I don't know, we just really like savored the moment, right? I talked to some of the young men that I work with in our church, and I was like, hey, so and this is like 12:30 on Christmas Day. Hey, how was Christmas? And he's like, oh man, everything, we tore through it in half an hour. I'm like, really? I mean, it's like a good meal. You don't want to just scarf it down, 2-fisted bear claws. You want to enjoy it, savor it. So I think appreciated that, and I hope you did too.
I don't know. I'm of 2 minds on this issue. One is I loved getting up as a kid and like running downstairs, and we could go through our stockings before mom and dad got up.
Yep.
But as soon as mom and dad got up, we would just bang 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 get those things opened up, and half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour tops. It was done. And I like that as a kid. But as I've gotten older, we do things a little slower, and I try to make the kids, I try to keep the kids to go a little slower, not as fast. But usually, like when I go to my in-laws for Christmas every other year, they do this thing where everyone takes a turn opening up a gift, and it goes from oldest to youngest,
Mm-hmm.
which of course is I'm the third person to open up a gift because I'm the oldest of the siblings or the spouses of siblings. And so I have to wait a long time for it to come back around. But when you open a gift, you like open it, you look at it, you show everyone else wants to see what it is. They have a thing in their family that if it's a book, that you write an inscription inside the book, and so everyone wants you to read the inscription, and if someone doesn't hear it, they have to read it again so everyone hears it. And I kid you not, a few years back, we started opening up gifts in the morning, like maybe around 8 o'clock. Then we stopped because my wife's grandparents came over and we had breakfast. Then we opened up gifts a little bit more, but then we had to stop because we had to go to church. Then we came back and we opened up some more gifts, and we had to stop at 3 in the afternoon so that the married spouses could finally call their families and wish them a Merry Christmas, and we still were not done opening gifts. It felt like the day that just would not end, and it's great. It's a family tradition they have, but I grew up in a family where it was like Tasmanian devil style, just like you ran down there, and as soon as you got the green light from mom and dad, it was like, how many can we tear through? How fast can we tear through them? And so now I'm looking for a middle ground. I don't want it to be an all-day event, but I don't want it to be over in half an hour. I want somewhere in the middle.
So I remember, so there was a time when I was growing up where my older brother Brian, who's 10 years my senior, he got up before everybody. And I'm talking like must have been the butt crack of dawn, like 4 in the morning, something like that. He goes downstairs, and that little bugger didn't open up just his gifts. He opened up everybody's gifts. I'm talking like a nightgown for mom. He's like a bowling ball for dad. And so when my parents come down, he's sitting in a pile of his own refuge and like just this mound of landfill wrapping paper, watching like Flintstones or Jetsons eating like Fruit Loops, and they're like, "What? No, you ruined everything." Like they were so yeah.
Wow.
Like talk about the ultimate jerk move. I mean, he was like 6 or something, or 8.
I immediately thought of Home Alone, where the uncle's like, "Look what you did, you little jerk!"
Right. That was basically it, and we exiled him after that. He had to switch to Kwanzaa. We
So
didn't
let me
let him
ask you
celebrate
this:
Christmas anymore.
Do you guys let him forget this ever, or does this come up every Christmas?
Oh no, every Christmas we make sure he knows and remembers, and if he ever develops Alzheimer's, we will remind him again and again, as often as it takes.
Nice.
So anyway,
Yeah,
good stuff.
Christmas was really good. It's a great time of year. It really is. I mean, get to spend time with family, get to do things, get to also kind of focus on why we celebrate the season. It was a really good time for us.
Very good.
One other thing one other thing we did do is my family had not seen Rogue One,
Nice.
so I got to go a second time, and there's some other family members that are still complaining that they haven't seen it yet due to various reasons, and so I'm trying to plan a third trip already.
Oh my gosh, very good.
So I tell you what, I love Star Wars, and I love that movie Rogue One. I thought it was excellent, so much that I saw it a second time, and I'll tell you right now, it holds up on a second viewing. And I'm guessing it holds up on a third and fourth viewing as well.
You'll have to let us know. You'll have to let us know.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that was my week. It was really good. But it's good to be back. It's good to be with you, Steve, and it feels like it's been forever, but I am glad to see your smiling face and to hear your smooth, dulcet tones.
Well, thank you. It's Murphy the Magic Tones. Don't you go changing.
Nice. All right, Steve, let's get into Rebel Intelligence. And once again, as always, I wanted to let you know that many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Okay, Steve, what is up on Rebel Intelligence?
So the one thing that I wanted to talk about, we've had some big and unfortunate news this week. Hate to bring you the bearer of bad news, but George Michael passed away, 53 years old, from apparent heart failure. Started as half of the duo Wham, which oddly enough, my wife, as we were talking about kind of the post-game wrap-up of the last podcast, she said her worst Christmas song is Last Christmas Gave You My Heart, which of course was Wham and George Michael. Anyway, so and then he went on to have a successful solo career with things like Careless Whisper, Faith, and Freedom. And Faith is one of my guilty pleasures, I will admit.
Nice. Careless Whisper actually is one of the ones I love as a guilty pleasure of George Michael's songs. I heard that news and I was really sad. I mean, obviously you feel for the man's family and his loved ones and friends. But something that I just kept like seeing the last few days is that more and more people kept coming out and talking about like all these charitable acts and like acts of kindness that he did.
Really?
Things that you just maybe wouldn't necessarily have known. And I always love hearing that about someone after they pass, when you start hearing like, he also did this and he also did this and he kept it quiet because he didn't want attention.
Yeah.
And that, that it doesn't change the fact that he's no longer with us, but it's nice to know real stories, not the performer, not the showman, right?
Right.
The real human underneath all of that. And from what it sounded like, he was a kind-hearted, gentle, loving human being.
That is awesome. Well, he will be missed, so rest in peace, George.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we had another sad event that happened over the Christmas weekend, and this one, for me, hits really close to home. Carrie Fisher passed away just today, or just a little when you hear this a few days ago now. She was obviously best known for her role as Princess Leia in the Star Wars films. On Friday, she had a cardiac event on a plane. She was coming from London to LAX, and apparently about 10 or 15 minutes before the plane was to touch down, she became unresponsive, and EMTs rushed her off the plane. They took her to the hospital, and the family had tweeted out that she was that she had stabilized, but obviously that means that she, her condition wasn't degrading anymore. It doesn't really, mean that her condition had improved, but it just stopped degrading. And anyway, she'd passed away. She was a script writer. She was an author. She wrote a number of books. Just a really dry wit sense of humor. And I gotta admit, she was probably my first crush that I ever had.
Oh.
I don't know how as a kid you wouldn't be in love with Princess Leia. She was smart and sassy, beautiful, just everything that a woman and a princess in the galaxy should be. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to miss her. I'm sad she's gone. I really do hope and pray that her family and friends and loved ones find peace and comfort. And I just want to say to Her Highness, may the Force be with her, always.
One of my favorite roles that Carrie Fisher played was actually not in Star Wars, oddly enough. and it was
Blues Brothers?
yes, it was a small cameo. The mystery love of Jake Blues in Blues Brothers, and I love the scene when like they're in the I think they're in his apartment or something. That she comes in with like a automatic machine gun, and she's Jake, you scumbuck, whatever. And so he takes off his sunglasses, baby, it's me, it's Jakey, and he goes over, he's like, oh, Jake, kisses her, drops her, and then he goes to Dan Aykroyd, let's go. That's just awesome. Oh, anyway, she was great in that, and of course, yes, no young man could ever forget her role as Jabba's slave. So there you
Well, there was that too, I guess.
go.
But yeah, it's just real sad. I mean, George Michael had a heart failure. Carrie Fisher had.
Well, they're young too. I mean,
cardiac
60 and 53 respectively.
53.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of people online that talk about how 2016 has claimed a lot of lives of celebrities. I mean, we lost some like really important people this year. People in the music industry and the film and industry and TV, and it just seems like 2016 has been a rough one overall for a lot of people, and hopefully 2017 is much kinder on us than 2016 has been in this department.
Yeah.
But
what
moving on.
What else do you have?
Yeah. Moving on. Christmas to me is always a magical event. A wonderful time of year. And for those of us that are Whovians, the fans of the TV show Doctor Who, we always love Christmas because every Christmas we get the Doctor Who Christmas special. And the Christmas special aired, and it was great and amazing. And I really enjoyed it. And now we got a teaser trailer for the upcoming season, which will have a new companion for the Doctor.
Nice.
Someone who goes along with him on all his adventures throughout time and space, and it's coming back in April. I'm excited for April. I love Doctor Who. I originally didn't get into the show. My wife, her whole family were into it, and she said I had to try it, and I kind of begrudgingly said, fine, I'll give it a try. And now I'm a full-fledged Whovian, and I have been for a number of years. I'm on board. I love the Doctor. I love the TARDIS, his time machine. Which, by the way, Steve, if you're unaware, TARDIS is actually not a name. It's an acronym. It stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space.
I was not aware of that.
Why I know that is, so I don't know, Trivial Pursuit games, something like that. Anyway, Doctor Who Christmas special came and went. It was Christmas. Christmas just isn't Christmas without the Doctor. So there you go.
Very good. One last one I wanted to talk about really quick was kind of going on the Star Wars theme. Something that I found extremely interesting was John Williams, obviously composer for the Star Wars tract, hasn't seen a single Star Wars movie all the way through.
I saw that.
Yeah, he's seen scenes, right? When he's composing, he's got to see scenes, but he doesn't care to go back and watch them, and he's usually too busy, composing his next score. I just thought that was, I don't know, it was just very interesting. I don't know about you, but after we do these podcasts, I listen to like 3 or 4 times. I hang on your every word.
I'll tell you what, I've seen like pictures and video of him composing with the London Symphony Orchestra and conducting them while they play to video that's in the background.
Yeah.
And I just always was under the assumption that he's seen these movies, and I guess not. So my now question is in the back of my mind as an uber nerd is he's composed stuff for the Indiana Jones movies,
right,
and the Olympics and all sorts of things. So does he not watch the Olympics? Has he not seen the Indiana Jones movies?
I don't know. I think it's kind of weird though. Yeah. I'm going. Sorry.
No, I'm in my mind now. I want to talk to John Williams. Well, granted, I probably want to talk to John Williams anyway, but I want to talk to him now and ask him. So Jaws, did you end up watching that or no? It literally, this blows my mind. He's never seen a Star Wars, and now I've got all these other questions going on.
He's communist. So. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. No.
So John Williams, if you're listening, Steve and I want to know what's up.
What's up, man? What's up? Now, you hear a lot of actors do the same thing, like, oh, I never go back and watch a performance. I'm like, bull crap, you egomaniac. There's no way. But maybe John Williams probably is a lesser egomaniac than others. But
I mean, he's got to be busy though, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
he
the most
scores
sought after
everything
composer of our generation. Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
So
So very cool,
anyway,
very cool. Well,
yeah,
some interesting news, some sad news, but news nonetheless.
right. So Steve, last week we reviewed Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Right.
That was our discussion topic, and it was the movie club that month. And Brita joined us, and that was a lot of fun. We asked a question to the listeners: what did they think of the CG in Star Wars, this latest Star Wars movie, Rogue One? And so I've got some responses. I'm gonna go to him here. The first one was from Peter Christensen on the email.
Yeah.
And he says this. He says, "Nerds, Rogue One felt to me what I imagine it must have felt like to watch Star Wars in 1977. Breathtaking, great characters, surprising, amazing. I enjoyed your episode about Rogue One, and I'm glad you enjoyed the movie as much as I did. As far as the digital characters go, I was okay with Grand Moff Tarkin, over the moon excited by red and gold leaders, and totally uncanny valleyed out by young Leia at the end. But the surprise and emotional impact of Red Leader's face and voice was unlike anything I felt in a movie as an adult. I was already deep into the movie, and that ratcheted it up like 5 more levels to the point where I felt like I was watching breaking war news instead of a movie. I was completely broken when K2SO died. He was the first one to die, and that was before I realized what a bloodbath the movie was going to be. When I realized that he wasn't going to make it, I felt like my heart was crushed, and I knew I was going to cry a lot. I knew there were no use resisting, so I just said to myself, it's okay if it's ugly, but don't make it loud." Again, I hadn't been all that engaged by a movie character dying in ages. Possibly Bing Bong, definitely E.T. Keep up the good show, Peter.
That is awesome. So real quick shout out. Peter Christensen's a good friend of mine. We used to actually commute together. And a funny story. So Peter has this laptop. It's got to be like a 32-inch screened laptop, right? Had a Blu-ray player before it was ever available on a laptop, and he had like this high-end, Minority Report process, whatever. And so we would watch movies on the train together all the time. The thing is we only had one pair of headphones, earbuds. So we would have to like sit really close to each other, and each one of us would share earbuds, right? So we're like right next to each other. Dudes on the train would be looking over at us like, what the freak is up with those guys?
Is this a scenario where if someone came by with a milkshake, you would need 2 straws?
If there was a plate of meatballs and spaghetti, I'd probably nudge one over with my nose.
Nice.
Anyway, thank you, Peter. Shout out to you, man. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, it's real good. Moving on to Facebook, my buddy Chris McCracken, who oopsed us a few episodes back. He said, "I thought Tarkin was extremely well done. A few animations were not quite right, but mostly very good. Stacy," that's his wife, by the way, "Stacy didn't even know he wasn't real. Can't say the same for Leia. She didn't impress me. Luckily, she was barely there." He said, "However, I do not want this to become a common practice." I agree with Chris. I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah.
I enjoyed some of it. I could have done without the Leia part, but it's okay, I guess, in the end. But I don't want it to be common practice. I don't think we need to have this in every single movie. And I read some stuff that said it was really expensive to do, and so it's probably not going to be in every movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Chris. Moving on to to Twitter. At dspin67 says, "I thought it was done well. Industrial Light and Magic have raised the bar again." So
That's
I
right.
agree there. If anyone's going to do that kind of stuff, it's going to be ILM. They are amazing, and I'm always down to see what they've got up their sleeve for us. So we appreciate all the feedback this week on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. We had a lot of fun doing that podcast, and we will be coming up with a movie for the month of January shortly, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, and I would say probably in future months, probably not for January, but future months, maybe we'll get some interest as to what people want to hear about, what they want us to review.
Yep, we definitely want to get participation and get movie ideas, because if you left it up to me, it would be like all Star Wars movies and Star Trek movies and Lord of the Rings. So we'll definitely need to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But so Steve, kind of talking about Rogue One and we kind of had this conversation about how it's doing at the box office and kind of what we thought. I had this really cool idea that I thought I would look up the top 10 most tweeted about movies of 2016, and we could kind of take a look and see how they did at the box office. And I know we've talked about marketing before. You and I both have an interest in advertising and marketing.
Right.
They were interests of ours in college, a shared interest. And we definitely know that kind of the word of mouth, like about a movie, really will have an impact on how a movie will do. I remember Titanic, and I hated Titanic because it wasn't a great movie, and it knocked off Star Wars off like the top spot for quite a long time. So I have a personal vendetta against it.
Against James Cameron.
I mean, he did Terminator, and that was amazing, and then Titanic, and I guess he had to have one for the ladies.
That's right.
But anyway, this whole idea of how movies do that gets spoken of a lot, and word of mouth in the digital age is Twitter. I mean, really, it's Twitter, it's Facebook, it's Snapchat, Instagram. So let's kind of talk about some of the top 10 most tweeted about movies and then how they fared. I think that'd be kind of an interesting thing to see. What word of mouth did for movies in 2016.
Yeah. So the number 10 for our list was one that I was actually kind of surprised about. Ghostbusters by Sony was hashtag Ghostbusters. Worldwide at the box office grossed $229 million, and it was the 10th most tweeted about flick. Now, it kind of got roasted, online. It sparked a lot of conversation, but again, most of it was, I think, fairly negative. The trailer, oddly enough, got named or the honor of becoming the most disliked trailer in YouTube history.
Right.
But obviously still put some numbers on the board that it only cost about $144 million to make, according to this website, and grossed again $229. So. What do you think? I mean, did you despise the trailer? Did it make you?
I don't know that I despise the trailer. I wouldn't have said I wouldn't have thumbs down the trailer on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it got to a point where there was just a lot of negativity that it became easy and almost like the fun thing to do to jump on to see if it could become the most vile and reviled trailer in YouTube history.
Yeah.
For me, my issue wasn't about the recasting of the male roles with female roles. I didn't, one way or another, I couldn't care about that. My problem is Ghostbusters is a timeless comedy masterpiece.
Correct. Exactly.
And you could take that movie, I mean, it looks a little dated because obviously it was done in the early mid-'80s, right? But it's just the dialogue and the comedy doesn't feel dated. It's still extremely funny. And I'm just tired of movies being remade. And so I didn't go see it. I didn't have any interest to go see it because of that and that fact alone. I don't want to support remaking movies that aren't very old, and definitely leaving alone movies that are just the gold standard, in my opinion, for comedy movies.
Yeah.
Now, Brita saw it. My wife saw it with a group of coworkers for they won some sort of a movie day out because they had done something great at work, and they're all awesome, so they all do great stuff, but they won a movie day, and they saw it, and my wife came home, and I said, so, how was it? And she just kind of went, nah.
Yeah.
And I went, yikes, okay. But, like you said, obviously, even despite all the negativity, it only cost $144 million to make, and it made what? 229?
Yep. Not a bad day. Double your money. I'll take those odds.
Something's going for him.
I think one thing as well is that a movie can sometimes be over advertised. When they do all the cross marketing, when they Star Wars. Gosh, they're making like the Rogue One Nissan Rogue with it has like the embroidered star stormtrooper helmet or whatever. Wait. Here.
Is that really? No. Is that really a thing, or are you just messing with me?
No, that's really a thing. You can get a
how much does this cost?
We have to interrupt this regularly scheduled program because Spencer needs to go out and buy
I have to go buy
SUV.
A
But here's the thing. So I read an article before our last podcast about that, and all it is, they debut it as this huge thing, like like Apple does for their latest iPhone. They bring out this amazing, Rogue One Rogue, and it's white, and it has embroidered, stormtrooper helmets in the seats. And it has it comes with like a one a limited edition whatever helmet, like a stormtrooper helmet or whatever, or a Darth Vader if you get the black version. I'm like, okay, that's a stretch. And I think for Ghostbusters, in Chicago, where I live, you'd go downtown and every bus that passed by would be wrapped. Every billboard, every bus stand, there was a blimp flying over the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. I'm just like, enough. I'll see a movie, but I don't need every Slurpee that I buy and every Twinkie that just to have all this cross marketing stuff. And it's kind of become a big thing lately.
Send me the link to that car.
Oh my gosh!
Because I'm telling you, I could be convinced.
Are you in the market
I need
for
a new car?
Does Brita know this? Is this?
She does want a family vehicle, a bigger family vehicle. Hey baby, I got this great deal on this Stormtrooper vehicle for you.
Oh gosh, yes. Our wives have to go through so much.
Yes. All right. Moving on. Number 9, Zootopia, and the hashtag was Zootopia. Obviously, Zootopia was a huge movie for Disney. It was in the Twitter top 10. It also was in the top 10 highest grossing films of this year. And it currently, I think, is third in the 25 highest grossing films of all time.
That's crazy.
I mean, this movie, just nuts. Tons and tons of money, right? It made worldwide $1.02 billion. So just a little over $1 billion worldwide for this movie. And if you haven't seen it, it's this great little story about a police officer rabbit and a fox that's a con artist. And my boys love that movie. We've seen it so many times. And so anyway, it did really well. It was only the 9th tweeted about on Twitter. And this article says that it could have been higher, but the problem was in certain other countries, Zootopia doesn't translate over, so it was Zootropolis or Zoomania or Crazy Animal City.
I love that one. That's awesome. Oh yeah. Gosh, that's hilarious.
So anyway, I loved that movie. I really did think it was a cute movie, and I mean, a movie like that was going to do big business, I think, anyway.
Yep.
But with where it was on Twitter and all the chatter about it, I mean, you couldn't escape hearing about Zootopia when it was around. And obviously, it kept people going back to the theaters because $1 billion is not chump change.
Well, and I think one thing you see as well, if you actually look at the stats, I think it's PG movies do better on a just rating basis than any other movie. Maybe it's G, I don't know, but I've read it, and it's very interesting. So, a lot of people, they make, they put swear words into movies, or they put graphic violence or sex or all those things, but they really kind of hurt their chances at the box office, right?
Right.
Because ours don't, they just don't play as well. And obviously, you cast a wider net, you're obviously going to have more rears in the seat, you're going to make more money, right? Zootopia, right. I thought was great. It's obviously a family film, but it's always nice when, as a father, you can go to a family film and still be entertained. I thought Zootopia did a fantastic job. My kids still quote when we go somewhere, like at a restaurant or wherever else, and we walk out and it's dark. They're like, "It's night," the same scene from the DMV. They quote that all the time. My little Lila, who's 3.5, anytime you ask her her name, she always says, "My name is Nick. I'm a fox." I'm like, okay, that stuck.
You're like, that's going to be really awkward when you're 16.
Right, exactly. So can Nick come out and play? Yeah, she's a girl. Yeah. So anyway, great movie though. I thought it was a good flick, and I appreciate movies like that. One that I was just, my kids were watching in the car. We had a long drive this afternoon, and so they popped a movie in, and Big Hero 6. I know it's not on our list, but and it's a few years old, but another, I thought it was a great movie, just an original screenplay, and just one that I really enjoyed. So
our kids love that as well. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They love Baymax, and I always now do the fist bump.
Yeah.
Where when I do the fist bump, I go blah la 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 la, and then I like, yep, yep. I do that with the thing with my fingers, and
Yep.
and my kids think that's great. My nephews and nieces think it's great. 12-year-old kids that I work with at church and Boy Scouts, they think it's funny.
It
So
plays well,
eventually it's
man.
gonna,
Plays well.
yeah, eventually it'll wear out. But I mean, for now, it still works. So.
All right, so number 8 on our list was one that I have not seen. I will admit, but I did watch the trailer several times. I watched several different trailers because I thought the cinematography looked amazing. The story was gripping. It was the Revenant. Is that how you say it?
Revenant.
Revenant. Sorry about that. But Leo DiCaprio finally gets his Oscar to put on his mantle, and so. The film was actually made over 65% of its total revenue in foreign territories, rather than here in the States. It was nominated for 12 Oscars. It won 3, including Best Actor, Best Director, and of course the scene where Leo goes off the cliff and the horse is just gripping. It made $532 million at the box office, almost 533, but it was the 8th most tweeted about film.
I didn't get a chance to see that movie either. It's kind of on my list of like things to get around to.
Yeah.
When I get a chance. I mean, with being a father of 2 boys and work and everything else that I've got going on in my life, I really have to kind of pick my spots for like what I see in the theaters.
Yep.
And just generally what I get to watch and what I get to consume media wise. But I didn't get a chance to see this. And I really wanted to. It looked really cool, and I heard from tons of people that it was a really good movie. So it's on my list, and I tell you what, I thought Leo should have won an Oscar from The Departed a number of years ago because he was amazing in that flick. Just totally blew that out of the water. But I'm glad that he had another chance with another meaty role and that he got that out of the way. So
I thought he should have won
him.
it for Growing Pains, actually.
Oh, yeah, the Oscar?
Yeah.
The Oscar?
Shut your mouth. The Grammy, the Tony, the Emmy.
He's going to EGOT. Wow, that's great.
Right.
Moving on, number 7 was number 7 in the most tweeted about movies of this year was Finding Dory, and the hashtag was Finding Dory. Now, when I originally heard they were going to do a Finding Dory movie, I kind of went, really? It's been a long time. Finding Nemo was good.
Mm-hmm.
How good was Finding Dory going to be? Well, let me tell you something. That movie made $1.03 billion at the box office, so just a little more than Zootopia. Another movie by Disney that made over $1 billion.
My gosh.
I'm sensing a theme here. It was like seriously like a decade since Finding Nemo came out, and then Finding Dory came out. I didn't see it in the theater originally. We kind of waited this one out to when it came on to home video, and we purchased the digital copy through the iTunes. And my boys have seen that movie over and over and over again. Usually what happens in our household is my boys wake up much earlier than they should. They come and they jump on our bed and they try to wake us up. And then my wife just says to me, hey, put a movie on for them. And so I would put a movie on. And I probably saw the first maybe 2 minutes of Finding Dory countless times. And then I'd fall asleep, right? Go back to sleep and sleep for a while. I finally had a chance literally a few weeks ago to sit and watch the entire movie of Finding Dory. And man, it's sad and it's heartwarming and it's just gut-wrenching. It's fun. It's a great movie, but it kind of heavy and really kind of tugged at my heartstrings a time or two. And I went, wow, this movie actually has more legs than I thought it would. And yeah, it's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it.
So real quick story as we're going on the list. So I had family over for Christmas, and my kid's sister, her name is Michaela. We were talking about just funny movies that we'd watched and whatnot, and my mom did her hair really crazy. She likes to have crazy hair colors and all this kind of stuff. And so my mom put cornrows in her hair, and I'm like, yeah, right. Cornrows in her hair. Anyway, that's not the point of my story. I said, how long did that take? And she's like, oh, one sitting of Muppet Treasure Island. I'm like, what? and keep in mind, she's 18, I'm 38, so we've got some years, but so she was a baby when I was like in junior high. I'm like, you're still watching that movie? She's like, yes. She's like, I like it so much better than Disney movies. I'm like, why? She's like, because it doesn't have the horribly sad part in it. It's all happy. I'm like, that's a good point. She's like, I think Disney's got some racket going on here where, they always have to have a parent die. They always have to have some kind of thing. And I thought about that after our conversation, and it makes total sense, right? You have to have these highs and lows, these ebbs and flows. You have to have the travesty that you've got to overcome, and then you've got to have the nice resolve at the end. So it makes total sense that Finding Dory had you through half a box of Kleenex.
Well, it's called good storytelling. I'm just gonna put it out there like that.
Yeah.
You gotta, if you don't have some sort of pull one way, you can't have a resolution the other. Like if you don't have like a low, you don't have a tragedy, then how's that character supposed to overcome that and have that moment of triumph that you really root for?
Right.
So yeah, Disney does do it, and it does get a little formulaic at times.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say that when you're making $1 billion a movie,
the formula
you can stick to that formula.
Right?
The formula is called
money. Right.
Yes. Oh,
well,
man.
so going along with that formula, our number 6 is while it is the number 6th most tweeted about movie, it is the number 1 in Disney's pocketbook, and that is Captain America: Civil War, which grossed worldwide, wait for it, $1.15 billion.
Woo!
Nature Boy Ric Flair, brother. Hashtag Captain America Civil War.
Wow.
So, while it placed just second behind Finding Dory domestically, overall, worldwide, the top grossing film of the year. And aside from being a dang good movie, it was also, as we talked about a few podcasts ago, the first movie when we got to see Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, which got obviously huge thumbs up from fans. And we were all excited to see Spider-Man: Homecoming. So,
Yep. I agree.
Yeah. So,
I don't know why I had to come in there like a little rabbit. Yep. I don't know.
It's good.
And I'll tell you what, I loved Captain America: Civil War. That has got to be one of probably the near perfect Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
If there's perfection, that thing has to be probably the definition of it, or so close you're gonna have a hard time beating it. It was amazing, and obviously I wasn't the only one that thought that, because it sold 1.15 billion. Goodness, I would have liked to just had maybe like a 1% return on that, and I would have been okay for life.
I mean, Disney is cleaning house, and the list ain't over yet.
Yeah. Okay, so the number 5 tweeted about movie of 2016 was Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, and the hashtag was Batman vs. Superman. It made $873 million. It was highly talked about, right? Because it's the first time you're putting Batman and Superman together. However, the thing just got torched by the critics.
As it should have.
Yeah, I mean, it just the critics torched it. The fans' reviews of it were poor. I read this great article, and I don't remember where it was. Maybe it was like IO9, but they basically were saying that Zack Snyder in this movie just like he's gotten to this place where he's just like murdering people, and they started referring to it as the DC Murderverse because he's just, and I love that turn of phrase, the DC Murderverse, because he's just like killing people off right and left. And there's like these dream sequences where everything's like super dark and everyone's dying, and like Superman's got like these like Nazi thug type of just was this weird like.
Yeah.
And I get that the Batman trilogy by Christopher Nolan, right? The Christopher Nolan Batman films were a darker variety, but then they did Man of Steel and they try to make that dark and kind of angsty and
gritty.
Yeah, and that's not Superman. I mean, even though he may live in that kind of a world, Superman is the last bastion of truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, he literally represents the most patriotic, the
Like
best
clean
of.
cut Americana, like
Right,
yep.
right. And they came out with Man of Steel, and it was dark and it was gritty and kind of angsty, and he was a little whiny and like, I don't know what to do, and I need to follow my heart, and this father, and I just But then Batman versus Superman comes out, and it was this dark, dark movie once again, and you had Batman pitted against Superman, and it's not until Wonder Woman shows up that everyone kind of decides to start playing along, and just some really bad plot stuff with I was gonna kill you, but then I didn't kill you because you mentioned my mother's name, and it's the
Yeah, like
same name as your mother. It just
yeah,
it was
I
bad.
felt like the motivations, the entire motivations, it was almost like as bad as like the Sandman in the Spider-Man movie we were talking about the other day. Just I didn't feel like the motivations were really justifiable for the actions. And then I thought the sequence at the end, the fight between Batman and Superman, was just blah. It just went on forever and ever. It was like a half an hour fight scene or more. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Ben Affleck in most things. I really am not. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it wasn't yeah, I saw it. I do hear though, people have told me that there's like an extended cut that came out on DVD that was better. I just haven't I haven't seen it. I've kind of decided that it's not really what I want to do
Yeah.
with my time at this point right now, but if you've seen that one and it is better, that's awesome. I'm glad because it needed something. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah. Number four. Coming up, number four. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This was Warner Brothers, hashtag Harry Potter. What's cool about this, so worldwide it grossed $722.62 million. It was a kind of a prequel, I guess, to Harry Potter and the franchise there. What's interesting about this is, though, we've come a long way with Harry and a long journey, and interest has not waned. I mean, the interest out there is as strong as ever. What with we've got hugely successful runs of Broadway style musical or shows of different J.K. Rowling installments, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and whatnot, and again, the appetite for Potterness is alive and well. So this one grossed again $722 million. It was the last film in the Potter universe to date. I hadn't actually seen this movie, but Spence, I think you said you had.
Yep, it was. We really liked it. Breed and I. We found it to be exciting to see a different story,
Yeah.
something that doesn't follow the kids, and it's not set in Hogwarts. And it was nice because you kind of get this sense that there's a much greater world outside of Hogwarts, and you don't really get much of more than a few glimpses at it. And this movie told a great story. It's set further back in time, so it's kind of a period piece. I really liked it. I'm not surprised that it's high up on the list of most tweeted about movies this year, and not really surprised that it did good business either.
Yeah, I like the main star. I think he's I've seen him in some other things, and I like him as an actor.
Yeah, I agree.
Number three is Deadpool. Hashtag Deadpool. Grossed $783 million in the box office worldwide, and Ryan Reynolds kind of finally gets his lead role here in a franchise worthy of him. Now, I didn't see this film, but I've seen glimpses of it on VidAngel, and what I've seen, even though it is heavily edited for language which I don't care to listen to, I thought it was funny. I mean, witty, just sarcastic. I thought Ryan Reynolds did a great job at the scenes that I did watch, which I think was the bridge scene when he's being handcuffed and drugged by some other superhero, and he cuts his own hand off, and I don't know, it was hilarious. I was rolling.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that I did see that movie because I was interested to see what it was all about. I'm not really a big Deadpool guy, didn't know much about it, but I knew it was kind of the same universe that the X-Men live in, and so I did go to see that. and it was a really good movie as far as kind of a how to put this, a kind of dirtier, grittier kind of superhero, a superhero that's not your typical
Right.
superhero, very crass, very sarcastic. Um, it was really funny. However, my caveat is do not see it with small children. Do not see it
Does that need
if
to be
you're
said? Is that okay?
there was people that were taking young kids to go see it. It's a hard R. It's
Right.
really rough. A lot of language, a lot of adult content with language involved, and so I did see it, but it's kind of one of those ones that I did enjoy quite a lot about it, but I almost kind of wish I could take it back because it was
Yeah.
a little rough on the ears throughout most of the film.
So I will say, going back to the conversation we had about kind of the rating system and how that equates to revenue for any given movie. So among its various accolades, Deadpool now has the honor of being the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. So slap my mouth. As a hard R, it won that honor. So interesting.
And usually though, like you were saying, R-rated movies don't fare super well.
Right.
And so to see that be the case in this one instance, I don't know if it's necessarily going to give credence to a huge uprising in superhero movies becoming rated R and trying to go for the harder edge.
Yeah.
But I do know that the movie based on Wolverine that's going to be called like Old Man Logan, they're talking about making that a harder film because was once again a more kind of mature story in the comics. So we'll kind of have to wait and see, what ends up becoming of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think a different audience pool for Deadpool than for maybe others that we're used to. Number two, going to number two, almost done with our list. Suicide Squad. Hashtag Suicide Squad worldwide grossed $745 million, and it was one of 2016's most anticipated movies. Spencer, I know we talked about this in one of our earlier podcasts, but you have seen it. And they've got a few spin-offs from this movie, on the Gotham City Sirens with Harley Quinn as the lead character. Critics kind of found this, they kind of muddled through, got a lot of negative reviews actually.
We did talk about this before. I saw the movie. I liked it okay, but it had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And the storyline did get really muddled. But I tell you what, if you go back before I saw the movie and just go back to that trailer where it's playing the song, "You Don't Know What I Know," and it's kind of that kind of like Motown, kind of like 1960s sounding soundtrack that they're playing.
Yep.
And they're showing Harley Quinn and they're showing Killer Croc and they're showing Deadshot and all this. And you hear that Joker cackle, that it gave me chills. That trailer, I would watch that thing over and over and over again, and my hype level was just through the roof. I thought this thing was going to be the movie that was going to define the DC murderverse for the next few few movies, but in the end, it wasn't. The trailer was better than the movie.
Yeah.
Really, that's where it came down to for me, and so I do think that the anticipation, the trailer, and all the chatter on Twitter really did help give it the numbers and the box office that it had. But man, if they come out with a second movie, I know they got spin-offs coming up, but if they came up with like a follow-up to that movie, I do not think it's going to do anywhere near the business of that. I think you tie Suicide Squad and Batman vs. Superman together in the same year by DC, I think they've burned a lot of people. I may be wrong, but I think that they're not going to be approaching anywhere near the kind of numbers that Marvel's going to be hitting for the next few years.
Well, and Margot Robbie's performance was praised amongst everything else, choppy directing and thin characters and all the rest.
Yeah, she was great.
And the cream rises to the top, and that's where they say, okay, we'll take this character that everybody liked, and we will have some spin-offs. So they're no fools. So they know what makes money, and they know where to follow it. So
Well, hopefully that they do big business with their spin-offs.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see.
So last but not least, again, and probably not surprising to anyone on this show, was another huge Disney win, and of course it was the back-to-back. They combined this one, but it was the Star Wars Force Awakens and Rogue One, because really 2016 was kind of bookend by the release of Force Awakens. I think it was December of 15, which I'm sure was still being tweeted about well into 16, and then of course Rogue One just this month. So huge, grossed in total. So I think I've got the numbers here: $2 billion for the Force Awakens and 442 million thus far for Rogue One. So
Yeah.
Disney's not hurting, I don't think. I think
No.
Mickey is pretty happy. Walt is looking down from heaven above, counting his money.
Yeah. This does not surprise me. Star Wars fans are rabid, crazed animals when it comes to getting an installment of Star Wars.
Yes,
We
they
want
are.
it. We want to devour it. We want to own that thing as fast as possible. So that doesn't surprise me. Obviously, The Force Awakens was a huge movie. It was super successful. And if you were on Twitter last December into January and into February, I mean, it was just being talked about nonstop.
Yep.
People were going back over and over and over. And of course, and I've made this criticism, and I think it's fair. The Force Awakens was a retelling of A New Hope. It really was. Obviously, it's newer graphics and better technology, and they introduced different characters. But ultimately, the heart of it was a retelling of A New Hope. But I think what a lot of people kept a lot of people talking about it on Twitter, though, was that they introduced some new characters and they dropped in some things that had people talking about, like, who's Rey's parents, who her mother is, who her
Right.
father is, what about this? And so there became this whole wave of fan speculation as to why Luke was hiding out, and how did Rey find him and know exactly after she got the map where exactly he was going to be, and how the Force is going to work into this, and is she going to be trained by Luke, and there was all this speculation, and that hasn't stopped. I mean, that's continued to go and go and go, and so it doesn't surprise me this was the number one tweeted about movie.
Yeah.
And we still have about another year to wait until we find out what's going to happen. Now, bookending that with in 2016, in December of this year, 2016, Rogue One. Obviously, tons of speculation what this was going to be. Was it going to answer questions potentially for Episode 8 or some of the stuff from Episode 7 that we wanted to know? And it was an amazing film. You can stand that movie up on its own, and it's great.
Yep.
And then you put it inside of the Star Wars pantheon, and it's great. So,
well, and again, unfortunately, tragedy struck, but Carrie Fisher's death is just going to continue the conversation, because I think it dovetails into Star Wars, and
sure.
and I've seen some articles about the irony of them CGIing her in this last movie that hit basically a few weeks before her death, which was interesting.
Right.
Very interesting. So
just one other thing, I love this about Carrie Fisher. That's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, but
Jabba.
She wrote in one of her books this line that she said that when she dies, she wants her obituary to say that she died in a pool of moonlight strangled by her own bra. And and the reason is because I guess when she met George Lucas and they were talking about the movie and the role, he told her she wasn't going to be able to wear a bra because in space you would naturally gain weight over time due to the physicality and to the physics of space, and you would continue to grow and expand, but your bra wouldn't. It would remain the same, and so eventually your bra would end up choking you to death. And that was what he had told Carrie Fisher. At least this is what she claimed in this book. And so she says that when she died, she wanted her obituary to say, I died in in a pool of moonlight, choked by or strangled by my own bra, and I thought that was really really funny. And so people are gonna be telling little stories about like that, like that from Carrie Fisher's life, or like we were talking about with George Michael, stories about his humanitarian work and his kindness. I think more stories are going to continue to come out about Carrie Fisher, and she was very vocal about her struggles with mental health and raising awareness for that. And so people are going to continue to talk about Carrie Fisher. They're going to continue to talk about Princess Leia, which is going to continue to keep Star Wars being tweeted about for quite a while. And so I wouldn't be surprised if next year, we did this sort of thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see that the Rogue One book ended the end of 2016 into the beginning of 2017, and Episode 8 will dominate the end of 2017. I won't be surprised by that whatsoever. I could probably say that's almost a guarantee.
Absolutely. Well, very cool. Well, we hope you enjoyed our top 10 most tweeted about movies. If you have any thoughts, any comments, any questions, I definitely want to hear from you guys. So.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Steve, it's just really interesting. Like we kind of talked about before, and we've talked about over and over throughout the years, the power of people to talk about a movie, to talk it up, and get their friends to go see it. You're more likely to listen to your friend's review and your friend's opinion to make your choice on whether or not you go see a movie. And in today's digital age, you're going to get on Twitter, you're going to get on Instagram,
right.
Snapchat, and you're going to do that. And I know that you're going to talk about a certain movie that I highly recommended to you a long, long time ago.
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar I am.
To prove that word of mouth is the only reason you go see movies.
So now, what was it? Was I serving it?
No, this was like 1996.
Yeah, that was about right. And for some reason, I hadn't seen this movie. Okay, so before I reveal the title of said movie, Mr. Stapleton here, he talks about the movie, talks about the graphics, or about the the computer generated yada yadas, and the action, and the theme, and the story, and all the rest. And he tells me scene by scene. He goes through dialogue with me. The movie is Mortal Kombat. And as we all know, it was probably not the most tweeted about movie, we'll say, in its day.
No,
it was the biggest freaking letdown of my life, literally. And that's even counting like the 3 prequels of Star Wars. I mean, that, like, literally the biggest letdown of my life, right there. Mortal freaking Kombat. Johnny Cage! Hadouken! Oh, that's Street Fighter, sorry.
Now, I gotta admit...
Fatality.
In my defense, which there is very thin little defense for this.
Yeah, Johnny Cochran.
In my defense, I was a teenager, and this was a movie based off of a video game. And
when is that ever good? That's never good. I mean, the Mario Brothers movie. Come on.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Mario.
The last movie was the Mario Brothers movie, and so by comparison, Mortal Kombat was amazing. Now, when we look back at it,
the only saving grace of that movie is it had Veronica Vaughn. That is one. That's the only saving grace.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, Steve never lets me forget this. I'm sure the same way he never lets Brian forget about the Christmas incident when he unwrapped all the gifts.
There's another thing actually I wanted to remind you of as well. Speaking of movies and whatnot, so I was trolling through Walmart during my late Christmas shopping escapades, and they come across those bins of like the $5 movies or whatever that are just a random modge podge of Hollywood splendor. And I came across a movie that is near and dear to my heart. I'm sure it is to yours at home. The movie starred Dustin Hoffman and one Robin Williams. And it's the story of Peter Pan, otherwise known as...
Hook, give us the hook. Hook, give us the hook.
Do the magic, Peter. And this is a movie that...
Oh, there you are, Peter.
Oh, that was the cutest little fat kid. Oh, man. He was cute. But yeah, Spencer borrowed that movie from me and never gave it back.
I still have it. I still have it to this day.
Watching it on VHS tonight with the missus.
I am not going to give that back. I'm holding that ransom out of pure spite now.
Oh, anyway, so.
One year for Christmas when you were old and decrepit and you were ready to pass from this mortal coil, I will return it to you just because I can.
And I will rue the day.
Yes. Anyway, so we talked about the top 10 most tweeted about, and then obviously Steve wanted to talk about, my misadventure in word of mouth and giving a recommendation for a film, and I thought that was really funny, and obviously I have to live with that shame every day of my life. So I want to know from you, the listener, what is one movie that you recommended to friends or to family members or to loved ones or to anyone in general that you really wish you could take back? Something that was just so bad that you want to bury your head in the sand and forget that you ever recommended that to anyone. Obviously, mine is Mortal Kombat.
Right.
And I'm gonna own it. I did that. I did tell Steve that it was one of the greatest movies I'd ever seen. And I was so wrong. So let us know what is the worst movie you ever recommended. You can let us know, get back to us and answer that. We will make sure we tweet and put on Facebook the question. But that's the question of the week. What is the worst movie you recommended to a family member or friend? You need to follow us. You need to get your friends to follow us. And you need to be able to find us. We are on Twitter at Fort of Nerd. Or you can reach us by email like Peter Christensen did this week, fortofnerd@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Facebook, Fort of Nerd, which I think you can use the little app Fort of Nerd to search in Facebook too.
Sweet.
So
do it.
So yeah, go ahead and reach out to us. We like friends. We like interacting with people, and let us know your movie you recommended. Let us know. Let us know. So, Steve, if we are trying to have people find us and we need to become more visible, what do we need our listeners to do for us?
We need you to rate us on iTunes so the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as the Fortress of Solitude.
Yes, your reviews, your ratings matter. Every time you do, a podcast gets its wings. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is like some schlocky DJ radio host that has like a bunch of like noisemakers here. Zing ba doo.
Well,
all right.
That's too funny. Anyway, once again, to George Michael and most especially to Carrie Fisher, may the force be with you always.